Hello YouTube, Adobe here, back with another Photoshop tutorial. Last time we did a background for your desktop or whatever you want to use it for. It was kind of an advanced tutorial. I never really got into what the different interface options are for Photoshop. So today we're just going to do something basic. We're just going to look at what Photoshop is and how it really works. So this is for beginners. So let's start off by looking at the tools on the left-hand side over here. Starting from the top, we have the Move tool. Underneath that is the Marquee tool, which you can have a square, circle, single row marquee tool, and a single column marquee tool. Below that would be the lasso tool, which works for cutting things out. So let's say you're doing an edit of a picture of yourself, and you want to cut yourself out and put a background in the background. If that makes any sense, you'd use these tools here, or you could use what's below that, which is the magnetic, not the magnetic. I'm sorry, the magic wand tool. And you could also, if you hold these buttons that have the arrows on the side here, if you hold that, it'll bring up this little menu here where you can switch what tool that is. So right now this one is a magic wand. So if I wanted to switch it to a quick selection tool, I just click on quick selection tool, and it would change the tool that is there. But basically, what this tool does is when you just click on the background, or click on what you want to have cut out or selected, and it'll guess basically. For example, if you were trying to cut out the background of a picture of yourself, you use the magic wand to click outside of yourself, and it would select all that is around your image. Below that is the crop tool, which has the perspective crop tool, the slice tool, and the slice select tool. We won't be using that too much in this tutorial series. I mean, we may touch on it, but if we do, I'll get into more details about it later. This is the eyedropper tool. Basically what this does is you can use it to select a color, and it'll go right into your main swatches here. And the options that you have for this is the eyedropper tool, the 3D material eyedropper tool, which we won't be using because I don't do any 3D designs. Below that is the color sampler tool, the ruler tool, the note tool, and the count tool. And then below that we have the spot healing brush tool. It looks like a band-aid. And below that is the healing brush tool. And below that is the patch tool, the content aware move tool, and the red eye tool. Below that is the brush. You can use the brush, pencil, color replacement, or the mixer brush tool. If you follow any of the tutorials that I'll have later on in the future, we will be using the pencil tool a lot because I'm going to be doing a series on pixel art. So keep an eye out for that. Below that we've got the clone stamp tool, the pattern stamp tool, and then the art history brush, and the history brush tool, and the art history brush tool. And below that is the eraser tool, the background eraser tool, and the magic eraser tool. For the pixel art tutorial, we'll be using the eraser tool along with the pencil tool very often. Below that, we've got the gradient tool, paint bucket tool, and the 3D material drop tool. Like I said, we won't be doing any 3D stuff in this series, but the paint bucket tool is like, MS Paint. You select a color, select the paint bucket tool, click the image you want to color, and it'll color all that is there. And the gradient tool, you just use it by clicking from one end of the image to the other, and it'll create a gradient from that side to that side, and you can, customize it how you want up here. Below that is the blur tool, the sharpen tool, and the smudge tool. Basically, like they're self-explanatory. The blur tool, you basically color in an area you want to blur. Sharpen tool, it'll sharpen it rather than blur it, and the smudge tool will it'll look like you're it'll look like you're turning it into liquid kinda. Below that is the dodge and burn and sponge tool. We won't really be using those too much. If we do, I'll go into more detail about them. And then below that is the pen tool, the freeform pen tool, the add anchor point tool, the delete anchor point tool, and the convert point tool. I don't really ever use the pen tool simply because I can do things pretty easily by hand. But if you feel comfortable using it, go ahead, get some practice in with it. I probably won't be covering really any of it in this tutorial series. Below that is a text tool, the horizontal text type tool, which is what we will mainly use, the vertical type tool, horizontal type mask tool, and the vertical type mask tool. Really, the only thing that we will be using in this tutorial series for the text is the horizontal type tool. Maybe sometimes we'll do vertical type tool, depending on the video. And then below that, we've got the path selection tool and the direct selection tool. Below that, we've got the rectangle tool. These make shapes. So it's like you just click and drag and it'll make the shape. You've got rectangle tool, rounded rectangle tool, the ellipse tool, polygon tool, line tool, and the custom shape tool. We will be using these quite often. And then below that, we've got the hand tool, the rotate view tool, and then zoom. And then right down here, we've got the two main swatches. You can click on these and change them to whatever color you want. And then this arrow right here, this like double arrow, you click that and it switches them so that you could change the other one. Technically, you can change it by just clicking on it, but having it be the top one is the one that is selected. And then this right here will make it default. Not sure what this is. I think that's something to do with the zoom. And I don't really know what those are either. So up here, we've got every tool that you have selected will have different things. And these are basically things to like how you want your tool to work. So the move tool, we can make it work in group or layer, which we'll get more into layers later. You can make it auto select or not. And there's just all these different settings you can mess around with. And all of them have, different things you could do to customize it how you want. For the brush tool, we will actually be using brushes where you could go up here and you could change what kind of brushes you want to use. So for example, let's say I wanted to use special effect brushes. You click on it and you press OK, and it'll change them to like there's a butterfly, a duck, leaves, and these had different, they don't look like it in here, but these had different designs on them. Now going over to the right side, it may be different for you. I don't really remember what the default layout is, but over here we've got colors and swatches. We won't be working with swatches too much, but color we may. Normally I just do color from in here, so I mean you could do it either way. And we got history, so whatever things that you've had, maybe you did a mistake and you want to redo it, but then later on you realize you want to go back to that mistake and see if you can work with it. It'll be in your history. Below that, we've got the properties. There's nothing, no project open right now, so I can't really look into that right now. And brushes, just like over here, you can customize your brush or whatever here. And then below that is brush presets, which is also in another tab on brushes. So basically, it's pretty self-explanatory. The presets, what the brush will do. Below that, we've got adjustments. I don't really work with any of that stuff right there, or styles. I mean, if you want to, mess around with those, be my guest, and you won't ruin anything, I promise. And right here, we've got the navigator, which, if I were to open a new project, which to do that, you go to File, New. And I'm just going to go with this size, make sure it's transparent, press OK. In the navigator, it'll be like a little preview of what you're doing here. So let's say I draw that, it'll show up right there. And when you zoom in by pressing Alt and scroll wheel, or by using this slider here, when you zoom in, this box area is where you can click this and drag it around, and that is where you're zoomed in at. So it's a pretty handy tool. I'm not really sure what the histogram is. I never worked with it. But below this, we've got layers, channels, and paths. I'm not really certain what channels and paths do, but layers we'll be working with a lot. The way I like to see Photoshop is an onion. Any graphics that you make, they're all onions. They're made in layers. So this is layer 1 with this black smudge. If I were to make a new layer, I could make my brush smaller by pressing the bracket key. It's just below the minus and equal key. I'll have an image in the video for you to see. A little pop-up around here or something. And if I were to do that, that's on a whole new layer. So let's say I press Control to move. It would only move this because I have this layer selected. And you can turn off layers too by pressing the little eyeball button that is on the left of the layer. And that doesn't delete it, it just makes it invisible. So like let's say I wanted to work with what's behind this line here. And let's say I wanted to like make it, I don't know. Let's say I just wanted to like put a squiggly line or something, and then I make that, it'll show up right behind it. But I have that layer selected. Now that I have that layer selected, I move that one around instead of this layer. You can also merge layers by pressing Control and having them both selected, and merge layers. So those layers are now merged. So now I can't move that one white line individually. It's all one image. And also, if you double click or right click blending options, it'll bring up this menu right here. This we will work with a lot. This is my favorite thing to use in Photoshop, because there's so much that you can do. You can give it you can make it look 3D sort of. You can make it have a texture or a stroke. I know it looks all weird right now because it's just a blob. But if you watched the last tutorial, we did work with this. We did outer glow, inner glow, stroke, things like that. We'll get more into this in maybe the next tutorial, because I'm not going to make this video too long. This is just a basic video of what the interface of Photoshop is. So we're just going to press cancel. Up here we've got File, which we use to make a new project, open an existing project, or an image on your hard drive that you'd like to edit. And there's Browse and Bridge. I don't really know what that is, but Open As, you can name it as you open it, basically saving it. Save As, import media, export the media, print, etc., etc. Edit, we can undo, or Control Z. To go, okay, this took me a while to grasp when I first got started with Photoshop. But when you press Control Z to undo multiple things, you can't just press Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. You gotta press Control Alt and Z. I don't know why they did it like that, but that's the only way to keep going back to, like, let's say I press Control Z, it just keeps on going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But if I press Control Alt C, I can go all the way back to when the layers weren't merged anymore. So you can copy, paste, etc. Fill. This will fill in a color, certain color that you want. Like white is what I had. There's not really much we'll do in here, but there is one thing in Preferences, down here at the bottom of Edit. For the pixel art tutorial. I'll get more into this like later on in a different tutorial series of when I do pixel art. But if you go to general, you can customize, the interface, how you want it to look. For example, I have mine set for when I do pixel art. Let me just make this a little bit darker so you can see this. But if I zoom in, there's a grid for every pixel. Each one of these squares is 1 pixel. So we'll get more into that later, and I'll show you how you can make yours do a grid if it doesn't already. But next to edit, we got image. We can change it to RGB color, CMYK color, grayscale. I usually work in RGB, so if you're following my tutorials, just keep it in RGB. Adjustments, we can control the brightness and contrast, the color. You can change the colors, like let's say, image, adjustments, hue and saturation. Let's say I wanted to change the, here, I'm actually going to put some colors on here. So I'm going to do red, blue, and let's just do green. Now, if I go to adjustments, hue and saturation, I can click this master drop down right here. And if I want to change the red, I can change it to whatever color I want, and adjust the brightness. Same with the cyan, which is blue. And also there's another one for blues. So you can mess around with that, and then greens. So there's really no limit to what you can do in Photoshop. You can do a lot of things in this program, and that's what I love about it, because there's just so much that you can do. I mean, I've used this for years, and I've done countless projects that just turned out so beautifully that I don't think that I could do in any other program. I mean, there is the free version of Photoshop, which is GIMP, but it's a little bit different, and I'm not exactly familiar with how to use it. But yeah. Anyway, on with the tutorial some more. Layer. Basically, we won't really be working with this at all, but basically everything you could do in here, you could do this. This right here is basically that. Type. Won't be working with this at all either. Select. If I wanted to select all, I could either do that, or I could press Control A. To deselect, you press Control plus D. Filter. If you remember in the first video, we did filter, render, clouds, and that made this cloud here. If you press Control plus F, you can cycle through different clouds. Also, there is filter gallery. If you click on that, it opens this up, and you can do all sorts of things. And I mean, if you want, you just take the time to look through this and see what all you can do, and you can adjust sliders on certain ones and make it look like how you want it to look. But yeah, that's basically filters. You could do noise. You can add noise to make it look like kind of like a TV screen, or you could even put a lens flare, and you just kind of move this around in here, make it brighter. And look at that. There's so much stuff you can do with this program. It's ridiculous. 3D we will not be working with at all. I'm not familiar with any of the 3D things. If you guys would like, I can learn about it, and I could also do a tutorial series so you guys can learn as well. If that's something you guys are interested in, I'm sorry, I can't talk. If that's something you guys are interested in, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to look into that. But next to that, we've got View. And this is basically setting up your layout of the program. So like, let's say I wanted to have, let's see, the rulers. It would bring up this ruler here. And in your preferences, you can adjust it you can adjust it to measure your pixels, inches, centimeters. I normally use it to measure, I only usually use this if I need to measure my pixels for when I'm doing pixel art. But other than that, I don't really ever use the ruler. Oops. That looks kind of cool, so I'm going to keep that there. Anyway, that's basically setting up your layout however you want it to be. I like to keep it how I have it right here, just because it's all I've ever really known with Photoshop. I haven't really ever worked with any other layout. But anyway, next is window. This brings up like other windows. Like let's say I want to have instead of having to click over here to get my history up there. Let's say I wanted to have it there, and I wanted to. You can actually drag it, and you can put it in like a new tab right there, and it shows all your history, the things that we did like this right here. But like that's also a way to go back to other mistakes. Like instead of having to press Control Alt C, you can go into history and you can go back just like that. Like you can see right here on the screen. And then help, you won't be needing that because you got me to help you. So I think that's all that I've got for today. If you like this video and you would like to see more like it, please hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching.